Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mama Advocate podcast. I'm super excited to have Natalie here with us today. I met Natalie over on her podcast, the Rad Mom Radio, and I'm super excited for her to share kind of her special needs journey. I love highlighting these stories of people who've gone through really crappy things, and from that, turn it to encouraging others and helping others along their journey. So, Natalie, can you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about your family?
Yeah, so my name's Natalie Wilkinson. I live in the Central Valley of California in a city called Fresno. So I'm married, coming up on 10 years, which is kind of exciting. And my husband's name is Josh. And we have a little boy named Riley who's turning 9 this Friday. So a lot of like big milestones coming up. But Riley is diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. He was diagnosed when he was just a couple weeks shy of turning 4. And we've been in the school system, we've been through like special day classes, and now he's transitioned to general education. So that's been interesting to navigate. It's been good, but it's a whole different set of difficulties. So that's kind of where we're at now
That's
with him.
exciting.
Mm-hmm. It's exciting, but when you have a kid in like a special day class, you get so much more information about your kid's day, what they're doing. And in general education, you don't get that. It's almost like if nothing bad happened, you don't hear anything. Like you don't hear anything unless something bad happened. So, um, it's just hard when you're used to being like hovering over your kid all day to not being able to hover. It's a little difficult. So
Yeah, is he pulled out at all for resource room or anything like that?
he goes to they call it inclusion. So he'll get pulled out for like social skills, and he's
Okay.
got another autistic child, at least one other in his class. So I mean, it's a good setup. It's me. It's my problem. I'm the one having a problem. He's doing okay. So
Yeah, I get that.
yeah.
I feel like school's a very tricky because you have all these emotions and feelings and
hmm
yeah.
Yeah, it's hard.
Um, I feel like there was a lot said there in this. Yeah. I get that. I want to hear kind of about your diagnosis and how that kind of shaped you and changed you.
Yeah, so I think I'm one of those people, like my personality is where I always try to think of every possible outcome, everything that could possibly happen. And I feel like my son from the day he was from the day we knew he was there till now, he's just always surprised me. He does everything on his own timeline. Something I had never considered was having an autistic child. It never occurred to me that I would have a child with special needs. Um, And so it really took me by surprise. I would say when I started to notice that things really seemed different, that's when we pursued a diagnosis. It took a really long time we were like on a 7-month wait list from the time that I brought it up with his pediatrician to when the actual evaluation happened. Um, And so that was a really, really hard time for me. I would say a lot happened for me in that time frame. I felt very alone, very isolated, very sad, very worried. And in that time, I think I got to a point where I just couldn't deal with the isolation anymore. So I actually founded a group for moms of autistic kids in the Central Valley just because I needed to know that I wasn't like on an island all by myself. And so that was something that I did just to, I don't know, just not feel like I was drowning anymore. And so I would say what has changed me, I mean, I feel like a lot has changed me. I feel like I see the world differently than I did prior. I feel like I mean, I feel like this is always kind of my personality, but I don't feel like there's anybody you can look at in the world and not find something beautiful about them, you know? And I feel like that's something that autism teaches you. I think it teaches you a lot about yourself. I've been diagnosed in that time with ADHD, so it's like I've learned a lot about myself from my child. All the things that, like his sensory issues, I think we grew up in a time where sensory issues were kind of treated like, get over it, you know, like just deal with it, get over it, stop whining about it. And I think through, you know, watching him struggle, I've learned a lot about myself. And so it helps me to have a lot of empathy for him. Sorry if that's long-winded. It's just a
Oh, I love
long-winded
it.
answer. Oh, okay. Yeah, I feel like I've learned a lot. I feel like you can't help but learn a lot about yourself when you have a child with special needs. So,
Yeah. And I
yeah.
love the lesson of that there's beauty in everyone. And
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
even in the crazy hard, there's going to be
Yeah.
beauty. We need to look for it because
Mhm.
it may not be easy to find, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
definitely.
love that you founded a group,
Mhm.
like when you felt all alone instead of just wallowing in that. You flip that around, and I'm sure that has blessed so many others as well, just from you taking
Mhm.
that initiative and taking that first step. And so, like,
Yeah.
what encouragement to us to get out there and do what we need done, like to build that community for us, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I will say, like, I how do I say this? Something I'm learning right now is I'm not very good at accepting support. I'm good at giving it, and I'm good at facilitating. So when I started that group, I was in a desperate place, and I really only expected it to be like 20 moms. It's now over 1,600 moms, which is pretty cool. But I'm still not good at putting myself out there and saying, "Hey, I'm struggling." So that's something I'm trying to work on. Um, so to the people that can put themselves out there and ask for support, I really admire that because it's really hard to say, "Hey, I'm struggling, I'm falling apart, I'm scared, you know, I need help." So that's
Oh,
something I'm working on for sure.
yeah, that's a very vulnerable place
Mhm.
to be, to have to admit that you need help.
Mhm. Yeah, especially when it comes to your kids because we can't control what people say, and so everything is a trigger when it comes to your children. So it's a hard thing to share about. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I found the beauty in, I'm sure you have too, in the times that you have been able to share and like,
Mhm.
express your need for help, just the beauty and that intimacy that that creates between you and another person, and how
Mhm.
beautiful that can be, and just
Mhm.
accepting that help.
Yeah. And moms are so good at that, you know? Like, you see on social media, there are groups where you see, like, a lot of struggle, a lot of judgment. But
Mhm.
I think moms at their best can just, I mean, lift each other up like nobody else can. So I feel like, moms are really good at empathizing and, supporting. So, yeah.
I feel like there are phases of like womanhood in that where we kind of, you know, first become parents and we know it all and all these things.
Mhm.
We're really catty and our way is best. And we've
Mhm.
read all the books and all the things. And then as we kind of venture on and things become hard for us, then we learn to have more empathy. I
Mhm.
feel like there's another step of like entering into that special needs parenthood where you really feel like,
Yeah.
we can't do this. I'm
Yeah.
like struggle to the max, just that drowning feeling, right?
Mhm.
Um, and the beautiful thing is when you get other special needs moms together, I'm like, I get that. I get that
Mhm.
100%. And I want to treat you how I wish somebody would have treated me, or I want to come take care
Mhm.
of you like I'd want somebody to come take care of me when I'm falling apart.
Yeah.
And it just takes it to a whole deeper level of
Mhm.
our awesomeness as mothers, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like special needs moms, like, this is something that I've noticed is, like, you can sit down at a table with a few special needs moms, and it's like there's really you go, like, straight from, like, point A to point whatever the middle of the alphabet is. Like, there's all of this stuff that doesn't really need to happen, I don't know if I'm making any sense, but the bond comes so quickly because, like, oh, your kid didn't sleep last night. Yeah, me neither. Or like, oh, your kid, threw oatmeal at your face this morning. Me too. It's just, you just understand each other so quickly. So it's a really cool bond. Even if you don't particularly, like vibe with that person or you're not that similar, it's just the special needs part just cuts through a lot of that stuff. So that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I never thought about it, but I'm like, it's kind of like trauma bonding. Like
Yeah.
we're this horrific thing that,
Yeah.
not that all parenting of special needs is horrific, but
Right.
um,
Yeah.
just all the nuances that come with that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Ah, how does your group work? Like, do you guys
Um,
in person? Is it over Zoom? What's your story with that?
yeah, we met a lot in person prior to the pandemic. So prior to that, I would host probably like 2 to 3 things a month. I'm a big fan of a coffee meetup because it's really no frills. You show up when you want, leave when you want, drink coffee, drink tea, whatever. It doesn't matter. Bring your Stanley with you, like nobody cares. And so that's a lot of what I would focus on is just coffee meetups, occasionally maybe like a family dinner. And then the pandemic hit, and to be honest, I had a really hard time trying to figure out I still wanted to serve my community in some way, but it was just very challenging. I tried like drive-by birthday parties. That became an issue because those became like banned pretty much, and people became freaked out about that. And then I did try like Zoom meetups for a while, but I found that hard to maintain because mostly it would be in the evening, and it's hard to do that in the evening for me at least. So I haven't hosted anything for a while. I was thinking of picking that back up soon. Um, but I think that the pandemic really, at least for me, like it showed me I'm not a social person. I'm really not. I don't really want to be out past a certain time. I want to be home. And so um I think I was getting close to burning out when the pandemic hit. And so then the pandemic forced me to stay home. And so then it's like, oh no, I'm not forced to stay home, but I kind of like it. So how do I get out of my shell again? So that was a long way of answering your question, but I haven't hosted anything for a while. Mostly it's online support. Moms can ask questions. We've got some therapy providers in there too. So if moms have questions about like OT and speech and things like that, there's like other people who can answer those questions. Um, but yeah, I would say it's mostly an online support group right now.
I love that.
Yeah.
So we can just be there for each other when you need it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Great job in building that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Now, did your podcast come before or after your support group?
The podcast came after. I started that last year in May, so May 2022. And I've been doing the group since 2018. So, um, yeah.
And what was your heart behind starting that?
I have a big passion for giving moms space. I feel like this is an unpopular opinion, but I feel like moms are not given the space that we need. I feel like everything infringes on the mother. It's like we all laugh about it because it's funny, but like it's like being the default parent. You're taking a shower, your kid is sitting next to your husband, kid comes to you to ask for a snack, you know. That happens in my life on a daily basis. And it's nobody's fault, but it should change. And I just have a passion for setting something aside for mothers, um a space to focus on them, that something that's all about them. And society has a hard time doing that, and moms also have a hard time doing that because we're taught to put everybody first. So my tagline for my podcast is it's a podcast dedicated to moms and all their favorite topics. So it's really just whatever you want to talk about. I do love talking to neurodivergent moms and moms of neurodivergent kids. That's probably my soft spot, but I love hearing from all kinds of moms. So
I love that. And you're such a great listener. I feel like providing
oh,
that
thank
space
you.
is like just that buffer to let
Mm-hmm.
people talk, and
Yeah.
just to be, I think, is a beautiful gift that you have.
Oh, thank you.
I know that we've all
Yeah.
prayed in support groups whenever somebody just keeps talking and you're like, I would like to share something, but good night, they don't stop talking. Like it's just,
Yeah.
it's this need that we all have to want to be known and seen,
Mm-hmm.
heard. And I love that you're creating that for moms. It's
Yeah.
very beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I learn something every time I talk to somebody. So yeah.
I love that. Do you have any encouragement for our mamas of neurodivergent people?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, you're gonna find that people don't understand your life. And I think that's just a given. And so it's really important to, even if it's just one person, to find one person to talk to who's going to understand your life, because it can be very isolating. I love my mom friends of neurotypical kids. Um, and they have their own set of like what they bring to your life and everything, but there's nothing like talking to a mom or dads too of neurodivergent or special needs kids. So definitely find people, to extend your support system. And I think another one is you have to remember that just because your child has a developmental delay doesn't mean they stop developing. That was a big one for me. I felt like when my son was diagnosed, everything froze and I saw him forever as what he was at 4 years old,
Mhm.
which sounds silly, but that's what happened. And you don't know how much they're going to develop. So um don't get lost in what are they going to be like 20 years from now. Enjoy them, celebrate them. Um, and yeah, you just kind of have to take it day by day, let yourself develop, because you're going to develop, they're going to develop, you're going to do so much emotional growth. Um, there's a lot to look forward to. So,
Do you have a tool or a resource that you have used to help develop you emotionally and mentally along this path?
therapy has been awesome. I've been in therapy for like 2.5 years. Um, I'm a Christian, so prayer and having God to talk to, having other people that believe in God to talk to, and whatever your belief system is, you can draw from that, so that's always important. Um, you also have to tell people what you need. So that, yeah, like communication skills, therapy, my group has been very helpful, because I know that in 10 years, well, not 10, my son's going to be 9. So maybe like 5 years when he's a teenager and I'm freaking out, hopefully not freaking out, but if I am, I'll have so many moms I can ask, like, what's this puberty thing we're doing? What do I do with these hormones? So that's a comfort to me that I know that that'll be there.
Like this reminds me that we need to have someone on here to talk about puberty and our
Yeah, for
kids.
sure. Yeah.
Why haven't I thought of that yet? Because I feel
Yeah.
the same way of like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
what are we gonna do?
Mm-hmm. I think it sounds scary when you have neurotypical kids. I mean, I remember being a teenager, and I'm pretty sure I was very irritable. So I can't imagine. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, Natalie, can you tell everybody where they can find you and where they can listen to your podcast?
Yeah. So my podcast is, I mean, I always say Apple and Spotify, but I'm pretty sure it's on all of the places you can stream a podcast. It's called Rad Mom Radio. And I'm also on Instagram at Rad Mom Radio. And then I can always be reached by email. My email is radmomradio@gmail.com.
That's super easy.
Yeah.
I'm grateful. Thank you for coming on today and sharing with us a little bit of your journey and how you have kind of just turned the cruddiness of a diagnosis into so much good and beauty for so many moms out there.
Thank you.